Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, August 24th. I'm Hurricane Hal with your tropical weather update. A lot of interesting things happening in the tropics today. We're going to talk about it here on the broadcast. Well, let's go to the national map here from the National Hurricane Center. Two main features that we're going to be talking about on the map today. One is Tropical Storm Franklin, which has crossed over Hispaniola. And the second one, a broad area of low pressure that may form in the Northwest Caribbean, possibly impact the Gulf of Mexico next week. Let's talk a little bit about Franklin. So Franklin was a tropical storm. Pretty impressive that as a tropical storm, it survived Hispaniola, passing from south to north over the island as a tropical storm. That's a bit of a feat because of the high mountains there on Hispaniola. It's a fairly weak tropical storm. Maximum sustained winds right now 50 miles an hour as it moves to the north at 13. It's forecast to move off to the northeast. But then as it makes this curve out here, this is really getting into Friday night and early Saturday as it makes the curve towards the north. It looks like the wind shear will drop down, and it's forecast now to become a hurricane, probably pass west of Bermuda as we get into early next week. This is the probability of tropical storm force winds. So you can see tropical storm force winds are now possible in Bermuda. And also look at this off the coast of North Carolina and getting towards southeast New England. The chance of tropical storm force winds around 5 to 10%. Not that much, but it's something that we really need to keep an eye on this system. Keep in mind, if it is a hurricane and it's passing off the East Coast, even if it does not make a direct impact, you can still get a lot of very large waves, rip currents, and erosion along the east coast of the U.S. So we can still feel some impacts if it's a hurricane and it stays out to sea, but definitely something that we need to keep an eye on as we move into next week. Well, let's look also at this area, broad area of low pressure, actually in the eastern Pacific, is forecast to cross over Central America. And now the National Hurricane Center giving this a 50% chance of tropical development, really getting into the later part of the weekend and early next week. This is a concern because of its position and that it could possibly be a tropical system moving into the Gulf Coast next week. This is the Euro model. So the Euro model showing that possibly by Sunday evening, this is 8 p.m. Eastern time Sunday evening. Look at this, possibly a tropical depression could be spinning up. We can see there by the wind barbs that there's a closed circulation around a well-defined center. It's trying to get itself organized into a tropical depression into Sunday evening, according to the Euro model. A lot of times the GFS or the American model will spin these systems up more than the Euro, but in this case, it's the opposite. The Euro's been really concerned about the system and showing possible development for several days now. This could possibly happen on Sunday evening, developing into potentially a tropical depression. And then look what the Euro model does as it possibly tracks this towards the northeast, potentially impacting the west coast of Florida. This is a model run showing really Tuesday night or Wednesday morning around 2 o'clock in the morning. So potentially by next Tuesday evening, according to the Euro model, we could have a tropical storm impacting the west coast of Florida. Now, I have to say a few things. Really, until we have something form, until you actually have a center of circulation and something is out there, things are quite speculative. So at this point, this is not a known solution, and the models are in disagreement right now. The American model is not showing this for next week. So again, this is a system that right now is in the eastern Pacific. It would have to cross over Central America, then redevelop off the northwest coast of really the northwestern Caribbean. When things are so speculative, the timing, the position, all these factors coming in, it's really a low probability forecast. So again, we're not saying this is going to happen next week, but it is really interesting to show that the Euro shows potentially a tropical depression could form maybe Sunday night, and potentially something could impact the eastern Gulf of Mexico next week. Everyone, that's everything I have today, talking about the tropics, potential impacts in the Gulf next week. And again, Franklin looks like it could develop into a hurricane, probably stay off the east coast of the U.S. But again, we see some low probability of tropical storm force winds along the North Carolina coast, possibly southeast New England. Y'all, thanks for tuning into the broadcast. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Keep an eye on the tropics and see what's going on. I think as we move through the day today and get into Friday, I think the models will become in better agreement about a potential tropical system in the Gulf next week. Everyone have a great day. This is Hurricane Hal signing off from Galveston.